So guys, we finally made it to the final part of this Unearthed Arcana, and it is the Rules Glossary. There's definitely some stuff I'm going to be looking for in this, such as see if they've done with the D20 contest, see if they've changed anything there. But based on the video, what they said was any rules that are mentioned this are the rules going forward. So if they're not in here, you can ignore the rules that were in the previous Unearthed Arcana, essentially. So we're just going to I'm going to go through this one quick and see if I can spot stuff that interests me. So you got your ability checks here. Saying there's 3 types of D20 tests. The rules are often called for an ability check. So you have your skill checks, which are when you make an ability check, the rules or the DM determine whether a skill proficiency is relevant to the check. If you have the relevant bonus, for example, okay, nothing there. Action required. Make an ability check requires you to take an action unless the rules say otherwise. Several of the named actions, such as hide and influence, that sounds new, include ability checks, and difficulty class, which is the DC. The default DC for a check is 15, and it is rarely worth calling for an ability check if the DC is as low as 5, unless the potential failure is narratively interesting. Okay, so give us a little table here. So 15 is kind of like just to do anything, really. We see there, so it seems like they got rid of the D20 contest straight away. I'm not surprised. That kind of seemed to be the biggest negative thing coming out of it, was the nat 20s always succeeding, the nat 1s always failing. Armor training is just armor proficiency. Artisan tools, obviously just proficiency in tools. The attack action, you can make one attack. When you take the attack action, you make the attack with a weapon or an unarmed strike. Okay. Equipping weapons, you can equip or unequip one weapon before an attack as you make as part of this action, even if the attack is with an unarmed strike. Moving between attacks. If you move on your turn, you can use some or all of that movement to move between the attacks of this action. If you have a feature such as extra attack, that gives you more than one attack as part of the attack action. Okay. Attack roll. The attack roll is one of the 3 types of D20 tests. Is Unearthed Arcana. Okay, so that's just. Oh, yeah, they've gotten rid of it. Crits are now what they were in the 2014 Player's Handbook. Okay, arcane spells, it's fine. Bark skin, so they've completely changed bark skin. Touch one willing creature to protect it with regenerating bark until the spell ends. The target's skin assumes a bark-like appearance at the start of each of its turn. The target gains a number of temporary hit points equal to spell casting ability modifier plus your proficiency bonus. That's good. I didn't like bark skin before, but I like that now. Sorry, my throat's really dry after talking through each of these. I assume blind sight is the same. Climb speed is whatever. Creature types. You got aberration, fiend, beast, giant, celestial, humanoid, construct, monstrosity, dragon, ooze, elemental, plant, fey, and undead. Yeah, that's fine. D20 tests. Here we go. The term D20 test encompasses the 3 D20 rolls of the game: ability checks, attack rolls, and saving throws. If something in the game affects D20 tests, it affects all 3 of these rolls. Whenever a player character rolls a 1 for a D20 test, the character gains heroic inspiration. The DM determines whether a D20 test is warranted in any given circumstance. Okay, so we're going to see what that is. Heroic inspiration. The dash action is the same. Difficult terrain is the same. Yep. It just gives you actually better indications, so slope of 20 degrees more and stuff. Okay, so that's nice. Divine spells. Exhaustion. Let's see if they've changed it. Levels of exhaustion. This condition is cumulative. Each time you receive it, you gain 1 level of exhaustion. If you die if your exhaustion level exceeds 10. Okay. D20 rolls affected. When you make a D20 test, you subtract your exhaustion level from the D20 roll. Okay. Spell saves, you subtract it again, and then ending the condition, finishing a long rest, removes 1 level. They have completely changed how exhaustion worked. I just made a video on exhaustion. Exhaustion works completely different. Okay, I kind of preferred the old one. It seemed like exhaustion was a lot more serious, whereas just having negative modifiers, and it takes to get to 10 now. The only hope would be is that exhaustion occurs in more possible ways, so that it becomes, this actually happens a little bit more. But I kind of preferred the old table, but I guess we'll see. Expertise is whatever, fly speeds, whatever, gaming tools. Grappled. When you're grappled, your speed is 0. Disadvantage on attack rolls against any target other than the person grappling you. Movable, the grappler can drag you or carry you, but they suffer from the slow condition. Escape, when you make a dexterity saving throw against, essentially, at the end of each of your turns. Yeah, okay. Grapple seems whatever. Guidance, they've changed how guidance works. Let's see, probably nerfed it into the ground. A reaction which you take in response to you or an ally within 30 feet of you failing an ability check's okay. So it's no longer I cast guidance on you repeatedly. It has to be a reaction. You channel magical insight into a creature, failed ability check. The creature can roll a d4 and add the number rolled to the check, potentially turning it into success. Once a creature rolls the die for this spell, that creature can't benefit from the spell until the creature finishes a long rest. They nerfed guidance into the ground. It's essentially like a lesser Bardic Inspiration now, which it always was, but you could spam the hell out of it, so essentially they've stopped you from spamming it. The help action. Assist ability check. Choose one of your skill proficiencies and one ally who can see or hear you. You give advantage to the next ability check the ally makes with the chosen skill. This benefit expires if the ally doesn't use it before the start of their next turn or your next turn. To give this assistance, you must be near enough to the ally to assist verbally or physically when the ally makes the check. The DM has final say on whether your assistance is possible. I've always treated it like that. I've always treated the help action that you couldn't give a help action on an ability check unless you were proficient in the ability. So it was like, perception check, and everyone just starts rolling. It's like, no, if you want to help the person who's making the perception check, you need to have proficiency in it. I like that. Assist attack roll, you can momentarily distract an enemy within 5 feet, giving them advantage. This benefit expires at the start of your... Yeah, okay, so it works the same there, but I like the changes they've made there with the ability check. Oh, here it is, the new Heroic Inspiration. When you have Heroic Inspiration, also called Inspiration, you can spend it to give yourself advantage on a d20 test, and you decide to do so immediately after rolling the d20. Gaining Heroic Inspiration. A player gains Heroic Inspiration if the character rolls a 1 for a d20 test. That 1 must be on the d20 used for the test's total and not on a d20 that was re-rolled or discarded. This Heroic Inspiration represents a character's resolve to do better after fumbling an attempt. Okay, only one at a time. You can never have more than one instance of Heroic Inspiration. If something gives you Heroic Inspiration and you already have it, you can give your Heroic Inspiration to another player in the group who lacks it. No complaints there from me, to be totally honest with you. I kind of like how they've given it that if you get a nat 1, you still get a bonus out of it. You're kind of like, okay, nat 1, I'm going to do better. I like that. Do you know what I actually do? I do like that a lot, and it could potentially lead to a nat 20. So, no complaints from me. I like inspiration. I give it out quite a lot in my groups, my games anyway. So, no complaints here. The hidden condition. Concealed, you aren't affected by any effect that requires its target to be seen. Surprise, if you're hidden when you roll initiative, you have advantage on the initiative, and that's really good. Attacks affected. Attack rolls against you have disadvantage, and your attack rolls have advantage. Okay. And ending the condition ends on you immediately after any of the following occurrences. You make a sound louder than a whisper, an enemy finds you, you make an attack roll, you cast a spell with verbal components, or you aren't heavily obscured or behind any cover. I like that. I like that condition a lot. The hide action, to do so, it's essentially you make a stealth check while you're heavily obscured or behind 3/4 cover or total cover, and you must be out of any visible enemy's line of sight. If you can see a creature, you can discern whether it can see you. On a successful check, you are hidden. Make note of the check's total, which becomes the DC for a creature to find you. With a wisdom check, with a perception check. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I kind of treat it like that anyway, so no changes there. Incapacitated, you can't take actions, your concentration's broken, you can't speak. And when you roll initiative, you have disadvantage on the roll if you're incapacitated. That's fine. Influence, this is new. With the influence action, you can try to influence another creature to do something you can request or demand. This action can be used only on creatures controlled by the DM, and it isn't mind control. It can't force a creature to do something that is a counter to the creature's alignment or that is otherwise repugnant to the creature. This action has 3 main parts: attitude, interaction, and a charisma check. So, attitude. A creature's attitude determines how a character can influence that creature. Each DM creature has one of the following attitudes towards the players. Indifferent. This is the default attitude for a DM control creature, and a different creature might help or hinder the party depending on what the creature sees as its most beneficial. A creature's indifference doesn't necessarily make it standoffish or disinterested. Indifferent creatures might be polite and genial, surely, and irritable, or anything in between. A successful charisma check is often necessary when the adventurers try to persuade an indifferent creature to do something. Friendly. A friendly creature wants to help the adventurers and wishes for them to succeed. For tasks or actions that require no particular risk, effort, or cost, friendly creatures often help happily. If an element of personal risk is involved, a successful charisma check might be required to convince a friendly creature to take that risk. And finally, hostile. A hostile creature opposes the adventurers and their goals, but doesn't necessarily attack them on sight. The adventurers need to succeed on one or more challenging charisma checks to convince a hostile creature to do anything on the party's behalf. However, the DM might determine that the hostile creature is so ill-disposed towards the characters that no charisma check can sway it, in which case the first check fails automatically and no further influence attempts can be made on the creature unless its attitude shifts. Okay, that's alright. I think they're just kind of defining things there to make it easier for DMs to kind of put, I don't want to say labels, but like tags and stuff on things that, tags and labels, same things. Do you know what I mean? Just like you can, when you're writing notes, okay, this person's indifferent, this person's friendly, this person's hostile, and just kind of gives you a general idea. I actually like that, because I found it was something that was difficult to kind of come up with as the DM. Interaction. When you take the influence action, either roleplay how your character interacts with the creature or describe your character's behavior focusing on your character's request or demand. If the interaction is especially suited to the creature's desires and outlook, the DM might grant advantage to your subsequent check, or might temporarily shift a hostile creature to an indifferent or an indifferent creature to friendly. Similarly, the interaction is particularly irksome to the creature, DM might impose disadvantage on your subsequent check, or might temporarily shift a friendly creature to indifferent or an indifferent creature to hostile. Okay. Ability check. To determine whether your request or demand is successful, you make a charisma check. The applicable animal handling is charisma. The applicable skill depends on the interaction, with animal handling being reserved for beasts and monstrosities. Also, each request or demand requires a different check. The creature's attitude determines the DC required to achieve a specific response, as shown in the influence responses table. 10. Indifferent creatures, a 10. The creature does as asked as long as no risks or sacrifices involved. 20. The creature accepts a minor risk or sacrifice to do as asked. Friendly creatures, it's all the same. It's really the same thing, really. Just does as long as no. Okay, they're all the exact same. Invisible condition. Let's see if that changed. I like this whole attitude thing. I'm not gonna lie. The interaction, influence action, I do like it. Invisible. Unseeable. You can't be seen, so you aren't affected by the effect that requires its target to be seen. Any equipment you are wearing, carrying also can't be seen. Surprise. If you're invisible when you roll an initiative, you have advantage on the roll. Attacks affected. Attack rolls against you have disadvantage and your attack rolls have advantage. Okay. The jump action. With the jump action, you can attempt to leap more than 5 feet. When you take this action, your speed must be greater than 0 and you must make a DC 10 strength check, acrobatics, or athletics. If you don't move at least 10 feet immediately before this action, you have disadvantage on the check. On a failed check, you leap 5 feet horizontally or vertically. On a successful check, the check's total determines the distance in feet you can clear horizontally, or half the total if you're jumping vertically. This jump doesn't expend your movement, but the distance you clear can't exceed your speed. Okay. Light weapon property, one hand. Okay, so we kind of covered that in previous videos. Just when it heads to light, you can have 2 light weapons in each hand essentially. Long rest. Okay, let's see. A long rest is a period of extended downtime lasting at least 8 hours. Available to any creature during the long rest, you sleep for at least 6 hours and perform no more than 2 hours of light activity such as reading, talking, eating, or standing watch. Benefits of the rest: you regain all your HP, you regain all spent hit dice, and your HP max is restored. If your hit point maximum was reduced, it returns to normal. If any of your ability scores were reduced, it returns to normal. You can't benefit from more than 1 long rest within a 24-hour period, and you must have at least 1 hit point at the start of the rest to gain its benefits. Okay, so you can't just go, we're going to take a long rest and wait for Jimmy to get up because he's going to be on 0. That's interesting. Interrupting the rest. If a long rest is interrupted by combat or by 1 hour of walking, casting spells, or similar activity, the rest confers no benefit and must be restarted. However, if the rest was at least 1 hour long before the interruption, you gain the benefits of a short rest. Okay. Magic. When you take the magic action, you cast a spell that has a cast time of an action, or you use a magic item that requires an action to be activated. If you cast a spell that has a cast time of 1 minute or longer, you must take the magic action on each turn of that casting, and you must maintain concentration while you do so. If your concentration is broken, the spell fails, but you don't expend the spell slot. Okay. Move around other creatures, tiny creatures, any creature. All seems kind of the same, I'm not gonna lie. Climb. Each movement or speed costs 1 extra foot, for example. If you swim or climb 5 feet, yeah, it all seems the same. No changes there. Musical instruments, fine. Primal spells, yep. Ritual casting, yeah. Search action. When you take the search action, you can make a wisdom check to discern something that isn't obvious. The search table suggests which skills are applicable when you take this action, depending on what you're trying to detect. So a creature's state of mind is insight, a creature's ailment is medicine, conceal creature or object perception, and tracks or food survival. Okay. A short sword. A short sword is now a simple weapon rather than a martial weapon. That should have been the case anyway. Slowed. You must spend 1 extra foot of movement for every foot you move. Attacks affected. Attack rolls have advantage on you, and you have disadvantage on dex saves. Okay. The study action. When you take study action, you must make an intelligence check to study your memory, a book, a creature, a clue, or an object, or another source of knowledge, and call to mind an important piece of information about it. The areas of knowledge table suggests what skills are applicable when you take this action depending on your area of knowledge the intelligence check is about. So Arcana is for spells, magic items, eldritch symbols, magical traditions, planes of existence, and certain creatures, which are listed there. History for historic events and people, ancient civilizations, wars, and certain creatures, giants and humanoids. Investigation is for traps, ciphers, riddles, and gadgetry. Nature is for terrain, flora, weather, and certain creatures, beasts, dragons, oozes, and plants. And finally, religion for deities, religious hierarchies, and rites, holy symbols, cults, and certain creatures, celestial fiends, and undead. Okay, I like that they've tied the area of knowledge to different creature types, because I always felt just going, give me a nature check to see what you know about fire creatures. Like it always seemed so obscure, whereas at least now they've tied different creature. I do like that change a lot. Swim speed is fine, to efficiency is fine, teleportation, no opportunity attacks, no changes there. Tremor sense, same as normal, and unarmed strike to round us off. An unarmed strike is a melee attack that involves using your body to do damage, grapple, or shove a target within reach. Your bonus to hit with an unarmed strike equals your strength modifier plus your proficiency bonus. On a hit, an unarmed strike causes one of the following effects of your choice. That take bludgeoning damage to 1 equal your strength mod, the grapple, and shove, which we know for. So they're all the rules. Big changes. They got rid of the D20 test. They've given us the study action, the search action, which I like the slowed condition. What else was there in here that I liked? Long rest seems solid. The big thing was obviously the search action, the study action, and the influence action. All seem are amazing. I really like how they work. Heroic inspiration, I'm very happy with that. Guidance nerfed into the ground. I like the changes to the help action. I like the changes to the hidden action. Exhaustion, completely different. I'm not too happy with that. What else is there? The D20 tests, I'm happy they're gone back to essentially the way they were. Barkskin is a solid change. Guys, what do you think of these changes? Obviously these rules are going to probably be around for another month or so, and then we'll get an updated version of the rules glossary and we'll see what happens there. Make sure you fill out the surveys that they give, because that's what they said they're basing this off. They are not reading like people's tweets or Reddit forums or anything like that. They are purely just looking at the surveys people fill out as response to these, and that's how, if you want something changed or you're not happy with something, this is how you do get that change. Yes, let me know what you think, guys. Say so in the comment section below. Please give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and make sure to check out all the other videos surrounding this one Unearthed Arcana document. They're always massive now, so they're always a lot of work or video time goes into these, so I hope you are enjoying them. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. All the support there means the absolute world to me. And then hit the notification button, because then you'll never miss out on another video. And guys, I will catch you all in the next video. Good night.